What's going on, y'all? This is Grizzly Bear. Today I want to talk about rage and violence. First off, I want to talk about rage, or what triggers rage and why does it happen so often. You see, I'm diagnosed with high-functioning autism. And you know we often deal with anger problems, but there's a huge difference between anger and rage. And what triggers my rage? Let's say arguments, for example. I hate arguments. Arguments most definitely triggers rage because arguments don't solve nothing. All that back and forth, cursing at one another, name calling. Next thing you know, it turns into a physical altercation, which is something I've dealt with most of my life. Like, yeah, I got a history of violent behavior. I don't like getting into a verbal argument with people because it turns ugly. Let's just say I turned ugly. Like, as far as with name calling and profanity and making threats. I hate arguments. Especially with women. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a respectful man. I love black and white women. But women are the most toxic people that want to start an argument with you. They're the main ones that want to create arguments. I don't like arguing with a woman because of the fact that I have a short fuse. I don't want to do something that I regret. And my mother and father have raised me right, for example. But my history of rage problems, let's just say I've gone too far. One time I got into an argument with some crazy bitch who had called me a retard in the process, and then I had smacked her in the face. I know I was out of line though, but I lost my temper. I don't appreciate being called a retard by anybody, man or woman. That's an offensive word against an autistic person. I hate that word. So yeah, I lost my temper. I smacked her in the face, and then it almost cost me everything. That's when I realized the fact you cannot let rage get the better of you. You have to control it before it controls you. Rage is part of the devil's plan. Being possessed and brainwashed with rage and violence. That's when it becomes out of control. In the unfortunate case, I was out of control. Violence. Why is there so much violence? Like, yeah, that's just the world we live in though, but why does it happen so often? I've been exposed to enough violence since I was a little kid, and now as a grown man, it's still happening. I mean, things are 10 times worse than it was when I was a kid. But so far, so good. I've been staying strong. I've been at my new job, making lots and lots of money, trying to help my mother and father pay bills and stuff. That's the only thing I'm focusing on. Like, the only thing I'm focusing on is the future. Like, I pray for a better future. Because right now, in the present, there's too much hostility. Like with social media, with all these rumors and hypocrites and shit. I hate that. Like, social media most definitely triggers my rage. When folks go to spreading rumors. Like, of course, I've been a victim of cyberbullying. People used to make fun of me on social media. And it didn't do no good for me to send death threats, which is worse. But I was just standing my ground. Like, a man gotta do what he has to do for his safety and protection, no matter how crazy or violent it is. So yeah, I've made death threats to most of my enemies that used to make fun of me on Facebook. And honestly, Facebook is amongst the worst social media of all social media. Facebook is the devil's playground where you get a bunch of assholes, black and white, and angry bitches that want to throw shades at someone out of jealousy. You don't get points for that. You don't get points for a roast or make fun of somebody, especially if you don't know them personally, like what type of diagnosis they have, like autism, bipolar, or schizophrenia. You don't get points for that. You know, 2 wrongs does not make it right, but let's just say I don't care. Like, if I feel like I had to make death threats to most of the people on social media for making fun of me and stuff like that, that's so be it. I feel like I had to fight fire with fire. I was doing it out of rage and violence. You know, like, I had to ask myself, am I violent? Or is it just the people I'm around that makes me want to turn violent? I got bullied most of my life because of my situation of high-functioning autism. I've got a history of physical aggression with fistfights and whatnot. Believe it or not, when I was in school, I got suspended more than 30 times, I believe, for physical aggression, verbal aggression, amongst other behaviors. You know the rest. But let's just say school was just like prison. You know, constantly getting taunted and tormented. But hey, I managed to survive. You know, 5 years ago I graduated, got